Hello, mathematicians. Are you ready for some two-dimensional shape fun? This is kind of a fun lesson. I'm excited about it. Now, I don't have all of my really cool pattern blocks at home, the ones that you guys have, but you will need your pattern blocks. You'll need your squares and your triangles and your hexagons, and you have your shapes. My shapes are going to look a little bit like this. This is my square and it's red. Yours probably is orange if you have it. I'm not positive what shapes you have at home or that were sent home, but I do believe that yours should be orange. I know on our lesson today, the squares will be orange, but I'm going to use red. I hope that's okay. So when we're talking about two-dimensional shapes, we are going to learn how to use these shapes, put them together, and make even bigger shapes. So on your very, very first page, page 577, we're going to start with the squares. Now, I would like it if you had 4 squares, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my paper, and in this very top box here, I am going to use just 2 squares to start. So are you. So you have your 2 squares, and I'd like you to slide those 2 squares together to try to make a triangle. Show me how I make a you can't make a triangle. That's ridiculous. Show me how you can make a rectangle. Yes, that's the one I was going for. A rectangle with your 2 squares. Slide them together. And when you slide those 2 squares together, you can make a rectangle, right? You have your 2 long sides, your 2 short sides, 4 sides in all, 4 L-shaped vertices, right? And what I'd like you to try to do as best as you can, no worries, because it's not always easy, you're going to trace those with your pencil and try, hold them nice and still. Do your 2 sides, then your long sides. And you should have what looks like a rectangle. Just to make sure it's closed, because we know that if it's not closed up, it is not a rectangle, right? When we have those holes, it has to have 4 sides and 4 L-shaped vertices. Excellent, excellent. Now, do you think that you could use 3 squares to make an even larger rectangle? So you're going to take your 3 squares and put them together to make a larger rectangle. Look at that. My sides are not exactly straight and equal with these. That's what happens when you cut them out yourself. But you can slide your 3 squares together and you have an even longer rectangle. And I'd like you to try to trace that rectangle. And there we go. We have our 2 short sides and our 2 long sides, 4 sides in all, and 4 L-shaped vertices, right? That's how we use these shapes and put them together to make even larger shapes. So in this final box at the bottom, this time I want you to try and use 4 squares. Now you have 4 squares. What can you make? Give it a go. Let's see. What do you think you can make with those 4 squares in that box? Thumb up when you're done. Did you make something? Great. I think some of you might be making an even longer rectangle. That's an even longer rectangle, right? Your 2 long sides, your 2 short sides. Or perhaps some of you took these 4 squares and made an even bigger square using those 4 smaller squares. And again, because I created my own, they're not fitting together as nicely as yours are probably fitting together. But remember, our square has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know the tracing is a tricky part. We have our 4 sides that are all the same size, yep, and our 4 vertices, and those vertices must be L-shaped vertices for it to be a square, right? So either way, you could have either made a longer rectangle or you could have made this larger square. Pretty cool, right? Pretty neat. So now I want you to turn your paper so that you're now on page 578 and the top of your paper looks like this. Okay, you have this shape here. Do you know what that shape is called? Do you know the math term for that shape? It is a diamond, and the math term is a rhombus. And we can see that if we use our triangles, we can fit our 2 triangles in there, and the 2 triangles make a rhombus. So you'll notice that we have how many triangles? 2, big curve down the slide, stop, straight across that big old line. Those 2 triangles can fit together to make a rhombus. And you'll notice that they share one whole side together. We can't slide it partway like that. That doesn't make a complete shape for us here. But if they share one whole side, those 2 triangles will create that rhombus. Now, here we can use our triangles to form a larger shape. So take your triangles and try to fit your triangles into those spaces. And I'm going to fit my triangles into those spaces as well. How many triangles did it take? Yes, it took 3 triangles to make that trapezoid. So we're going to make our 3 here, around the tree, back up, around the tree. And that's how we make our 3. Down here is a little bit trickier, only because, guess what? They didn't make those dotted lines for you. You're going to have to make those dotted lines. Well, you're not going to make the dotted lines. They're going to be made in your brain. You're going to put your shapes in to see if you can fill this and see how many triangles it takes to build this. Now, if you need a hint, I'm going to put one right in the middle here. There's your hint. And then you can fill the rest in. And you're going to write the number of triangles that you used to complete this bigger shape. And then you're going to do the same thing here for that hexagon. I'm using a white hexagon instead of a yellow one. But this is a hexagon. It has the 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We talked about that yesterday. And it has 6 vertices. But we can use these triangles to make the hexagon. And I can give you a hint. You start at the top like that. Then use your triangles to fill in the rest of the shape and tell me how many triangles it takes to complete that larger shape. Okay. you're going to do the same thing as you move on to your next page. On this page, we're going to start out with this shape. Looks a little bit like a barn or a house. And look at what it's asking us to use. It's asking us to use squares and triangles. So you're going to use your squares and triangles to try to fill in this shape. Where do you think you might start? Maybe you'll start here? That kind of leaves an awfully skinny spot up there. I don't know if that's gonna work. Let's see. Well, my triangle goes off the page. They all have to fit inside. They all have to fit inside those lines. So what if I do it here? What else might I be able to add in there? How many triangles will I use? And how many squares? Then for the next shape, you'll notice you're going to use hexagons and triangles to try to complete this shape. I already see a bunch of triangles, do you? I can kind of see them there. So if I put my triangles on first, I wonder if that will help me. What do you think? Possibly. Okay, it's your turn to do those two. And then at the bottom of this page, we have these triangles. And it's asking you to draw a rectangle that can be made from these two triangles shown. That's a tricky kind of question. So we have these two triangles. How might I move these triangles to turn them into a larger shape, to make them a rectangle? So you'll have to see if you're able to make a rectangle out of those. You might want to flip them around. Maybe the long sides need to match up. What do you think? Give it a go. See if you can solve that thinking problem there. Okay, and then finally is the fun part. This is the really exciting part. On the back, we have a rocket ship. And we have to use triangles, squares, and hexagons in order to fill in this rocket ship. So use your shapes, do the best that you can, and fill in that whole rocket ship. And then right next to the shapes, you're going to write the number of that shape that you used. Did you use 3 triangles? Did you use 5? I don't know. You fill in your rocket ship. Make sure you don't go out of those lines. All of the shapes have to stay in the lines. Okay? Good luck. Give it a go. Have a blast making larger shapes out of these smaller 2-dimensional flat shapes. Have fun.